What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Ripple's second stablecoin. That's right. All the dots, everything, it's starting to line up, it's starting to connect. And you know what? This just feels like one of those weeks now, doesn't it? The kind of week where the rules quietly change and the winners are basically named in advance because that is exactly what just happened. But let's kick this off the right way. Let's talk about what's going on in Congress. Let's talk about the Clarity Act, the Senate Banking Committee, and all the rumblings happening behind the scenes right now. There are a lot of mixed signals out there, no doubt about it. But one thing is clear. This is shaping up to be a massive week for crypto, no exaggeration. I didn't say it. Well, okay, I kind of did just say it, but I'll believe it when I see it. How about that? Paul Atkins was out on Fox Business talking about it, and this is important. Congress is finally stepping in to modernize the financial markets for the 21st century. Think about that for a second. Modernize. And the biggest piece, we're finally going to get clear lines between the SEC and the CFTC for the first time ever. No more finger pointing. No more, this is my turf, that's your turf. We're going to figure out who owns what. And why does that matter? Because markets hate confusion. Retail hates confusion. I hate confusion. You hate confusion. Institutions absolutely hate confusion. They are not going to deploy real money when they don't know who regulates what. It really is that simple. Jurisdictional clarity is how trillions of dollars eventually show up in these markets. This isn't about crypto vibes. This is about legal certainty. Now listen closely to what Paul said. He pointed out that Congress already passed, and the president signed a bill late last year called the Genius Act. That was huge. It was the first statute the US government adopted that officially recognized a crypto asset. That alone was a big deal. It also helped bring clarity to stablecoins. And now comes the next step, a bipartisan effort from both houses of Congress to bring certainty to crypto market structure. This fits directly into the president's focus on making America the crypto capital of the world. Clear legislation, clear rules, certainty in the marketplace. And when you have certainty, capital moves. Paul even said they are very bullish on the effects of a bill getting to the president's desk this year. And if that happens, it's going to be a huge help to the crypto market and to investors. He summed it up perfectly in his comment afterward. He said, the most important thing we can do right now for investors is bring crypto asset markets out of the regulatory gray zone. Passing bipartisan market structure legislation helps future-proof against rogue regulators and ensures we achieve the goal of making the US the crypto capital of the world. Now, right here, this is where people either win big or miss the move entirely. Because while the headlines are still confusing, while most people are still debating whether this is bullish or bearish, positioning is already happening behind the scenes. And this is exactly where I want to quickly transition, because if you're serious about being early, not late, this matters. If you want access to exclusive weekly stock alerts for true 100x stocks, crypto insider alerts, and a millionaire mindset focused on building real generational wealth, that's what the 100x Club is built for. We focus on top 1% positioning strategies, the proven 100 stock formula, and the frameworks designed to help you 100x your wealth over time. Simple, clear, actionable, no noise. That's all waiting for you in the pinned comment below. Now let's get back to what's actually happening, because this is where things start getting interesting. When you combine regulatory clarity with stablecoin momentum, you start to see why Ripple making moves right now matters so much. A second stablecoin isn't just a random headline, it's strategic. Stablecoins are the plumbing of the next financial system. Payments, settlements, cross-border transfers. This is where real adoption lives. And Ripple has been preparing for this moment for years, quietly building, quietly positioning. While everyone else was chasing hype cycles, Ripple was fighting regulators, winning ground inch by inch, and setting themselves up for exactly this kind of environment. One where rules are finally defined instead of weaponized. That's why this week feels different, because it's not just one announcement. It's not just one bill. It's not just one interview. It's everything lining up at the same time. Regulatory clarity, institutional readiness, infrastructure already built, and now the winners are starting to become obvious. Those 8 names we talked about earlier, they didn't get there by accident. They're aligned with where capital can flow once the rules are clear. And that's the key difference between speculation and strategy. Speculation hopes, strategy positions. And here's the part most people miss. By the time clarity is obvious to everyone, the biggest moves are already gone. Institutions don't wait for headlines, they wait for legal green lights. And those lights are starting to turn green. We're watching the US quietly lay the groundwork to compete globally in crypto. Not with enforcement, not with lawsuits, but with legislation. That's a massive shift. And historically, whenever the US provides clarity in a new financial market, capital floods in. This is why this week matters. This is why this feels like one of those turning point moments. And this is why you don't want to be on the outside looking in when the next phase starts. Because once the gray zone disappears, the excuses disappear with it. And from there, it becomes a game of positioning, patience, and conviction. That is massive. And then Patrick Witt was out there. And here's where people usually mess this up, folks. Everyone panics over timelines. Why isn't it done yet? Why is price flat? Why hasn't it exploded already? Relax. Seriously, relax. This is how policy actually moves. Clarity doesn't arrive with fireworks. It doesn't show up with confetti cannons and price candles straight to the moon. It arrives with drafts, revisions, and red ink everywhere. You're going to get boring meetings. You're going to get committee sessions. You're going to get hearings that feel like they go nowhere. You're going to get revisions, rewrites, and language tweaks that sound meaningless to the average person. But here's the key thing you need to understand. Once it's locked, it's done. And once it's done, it does not get undone easily. That's the part people miss. This is not something you trade minute by minute. This is not something you panic sell because price didn't move this week. This is positioning. Stay engaged. Don't overtrade the noise. And understand that clarity approaching is often enough for smart money to start repositioning early. And don't forget who Patrick Witt is. This isn't some random commentator. This is the same Patrick Witt who was on stage at Ripple Swell, standing next to Brad Garlinghouse, telling you directly that this was coming, telling you that this was expected early this year. So now at this point, all that's left to do is exactly what they told you to do. Sit back, relax, and wait for the announcement. Because now we move to the Senate, and this is where things get very real. The US Senate just dropped a crypto market structure draft bill. And this right here is your headline moment. Draft bills are where the real signals live, not tweets, not sound bites, not interviews. This is actual language, definitions, classifications. This is the blueprint institutions read before they decide where capital can safely sit for the next decade. This is the stuff lawyers, compliance teams, banks, asset managers, and pension funds care about. And buried inside this draft, oh boy, this is where it gets spicy. There is a section in this bill that quietly classifies certain tokens as non-ancillary assets. Now, let me break that down in plain English because this is important. If a token is the primary asset of an ETF listed on a national exchange by January 1st, 2026, it does not need to jump through the same disclosure hoops as everyone else. Let that sink in. If you had an ETF on a national exchange by that date, you are effectively shielded from being classified as a security. You don't need to do the regulatory gymnastics. No endless filings, no insane compliance dances, no backflips to satisfy the SEC's ever-changing demands. You're in a different category altogether. This is massive. This is essentially a green light. And when you look at the list of assets that qualify under this framework, it becomes very clear what's happening. You ready? XRP, Solana, Litecoin, Hydera, HBR, Dogecoin, Chainlink, Bitcoin, Ethereum. That's your list. 8 assets treated as equals, treated the same. Same class, same recognition, same institutional lane. They got the pass. And what does that tell me? If you're holding these, and I hope you are holding a majority of them, you picked right. You picked the winners because this is where institutional money can legally and comfortably enter. Now, I'll be honest with you. I don't know how I feel about Dogecoin long term. I'm just being real. But the fact that it's on the list, that matters. And everything else on this list, XRP smiling, Solana smiling, HBR smiling, Chainlink smiling. I'm doing backflips right now. You just can't see me. This isn't lawmakers picking favorites. That's the wrong way to think about it. This is recognition. This is lawmakers admitting that these assets already trade, settle, and behave like commodities at scale. That's the key phrase, at scale. These networks already function. They already support real liquidity. They already have infrastructure, derivatives, custody solutions, and institutional grade rails. The law is finally catching up to reality. And here's the part that should really click for you. This didn't happen overnight. This didn't come out of nowhere. This is the result of years of positioning, lawsuits, lobbying, infrastructure building, and regulatory pressure. Ripple didn't fight the SEC for fun. Chainlink didn't integrate with every major financial system just because it sounded cool. Ethereum didn't become the settlement layer for half of DeFi by accident. These assets survived the regulatory gauntlet, and now instead of being punished for it, they're being recognized for it. This is why price can feel boring right before it isn't, because policy moves slowly, but capital moves fast once the rules are clear. Institutions don't chase green candles, they chase certainty. They wait for definitions, classifications, and legal clarity. And once they get it, they don't announce it on Twitter. They deploy quietly. That's what this draft bill represents, a permission slip. And once that permission slip becomes law, the conversation completely changes. No more is this a security. No more what if the SEC sues. No more regulatory roulette. You move from survival mode to expansion mode. That's when ETFs scale. That's when derivatives expand. That's when retirement funds, endowments, and sovereign capital can finally touch these assets without career risk. Now, here's the kicker for XRP holders, because the XRP ETF door is still wide open. BlackRock, CK, and Fidelity, they're still on the sidelines. But let's be real, I don't think they're going to stay there much longer, especially not once this bill gets signed in. And remember, what we're looking at right now is still a draft. Drafts become law. And when this one does, it's going straight through. When that happens, those firms are coming in fast. They're not waiting around when there's zero regulatory risk left. Two of the three largest ETF issuers in the United States haven't even entered the room yet. That's not bearish. That's untapped demand. And this is the part most people don't understand. Once your legal classification is settled, ETF filings become procedural, not political. No more guesswork, no more hesitation, just paperwork, timelines, and launches. That right there is a massive inflow catalyst sitting on the table waiting. Now let's connect this to the last piece because this one's sneaky. The yield ban on stablecoins is quietly forcing institutional money to look elsewhere. If you can't earn yield on stablecoins, you move up the stack. You move into tokenized real-world assets. You move into high-utility settlement tokens. This is not financial advice. Institutions aren't experimenting anymore. That phase is over. They're embedding blockchain directly into market making, treasury operations, and asset management. And when value starts moving across tokenized systems at scale, what sits right in the middle as the neutral rail? XRP. That's the reality. This bill is going to get signed sooner rather than later. And when it does, those 8 cryptocurrencies we've been talking about, the ones we listed, those are the ones that are going to absolutely run. Why? Because institutions now know the rules of the road. They know exactly what they can safely allocate to without worrying about the SEC knocking on their door. You want to know where the big money is about to go. They're showing you the blueprint in real time. It's all laid out, and people are still going to act surprised. They're going to act shocked when Solana starts moonshotting, when Chainlink takes off, when HR starts moving and people say, how did this happen? Nobody's building on it. They don't need to build on it in the way retail thinks. Institutions want liquidity, clarity, and classification, and now they have all three. Do not be surprised when these assets start running. You heard it here first. Pin that on the fridge. This bill didn't just bring clarity, it drew a map, a treasure map. And I'm connecting the dots because RIP is going to find that treasure. And XRP is standing right there in the winner's circle. If you want a position like the top 1% instead of reacting late, that's exactly what the 100X Club is for. Exclusive weekly stock alerts for true 100X opportunities, crypto insider alerts, millionaire mindset training to build generational wealth, top-tier positioning strategies, the proven 100 stock formula, and a clear framework designed to help you 100X your wealth over time. It's all laid out for you in one place.